Lake Forest podcast is supported by viewers, listeners, and businesses just like you. Looking for the best pool supplies? Look no further than Dohany's Pool Supplies. With a history dating back to 1967, this family-owned business offers everything families need to keep their pools clean and sparkling, from chemicals to equipment. Plus, customers enjoy free shipping on all orders. Visit Dohany's Pool Supplies today at doheny.com, DOHENY.com, to learn more. Forest Bluff Real Estate Team serves Illinois, Wisconsin, Lake Forest, and Lake Bluff. John Josephitis, Laura Lee Van Fleet, and of course Michelle Parnell. Get a free market analysis now at forestbluffrealestate.com. For the best cannabis in the world, look no further than Iliad Epic Grow. Owned by Lake Bluff's own Rich Ruzich, they are a cannabis cultivation center focusing on hard-to-find small batch products that will delight both the occasional user and ganjier. When visiting Michigan, ask for it by name. Epic Products, exceptional process. For more information, email info@iliadgrow.com. Havey Communications has been helping first responders arrive safely since 1983. It's owned by Lake Forest's own Mike Havey. Check them out at haveycommunications.com. We'd also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters, Otto, John C., Helen, and Herrick. Gentlemen.
Good morning, or good afternoon.
Morning for me.
Oh, that's right. Well, your Diamondbacks are on life support there.
Yeah, that was unfortunately. Well, I can't root against Kyle Schwarber. It wasn't his fault.
Well, I had it wrong last week. I said the Atlanta Braves were going all the way. And whoops.
Yeah.
And Morgan Wallen's song is coming back.
It's very
98 Braves, 23 Braves. In fact, there's like 2 or 3 spoofs of it online if you search around. But yeah, the Phillies look great.
Yeah, Phillies do look great.
The Texas Rangers look great. Of course, by the time the show airs, the whole thing could turn around. We record this on Wednesday, it drops on Saturday, so we should stop talking about sports when
because you don't know what's going to happen next. Yeah, right. Well, hopefully the Diamondbacks will come back to Arizona here and will recover their mojo. They need to get their mojo going.
Who watches baseball still?
I do still, yes.
I do. I love baseball.
Yeah, me too.
We need to get that NPR guy as an announcer. Oh, boys, what's going on in town?
Not batting.
I see a troubling thing when an agreement gets passed easier than it should have been. The teachers union deal. Did you guys catch it?
Yeah, I just read that this morning here.
I saw the
yeah, I'd love to see the details on that. Former school board member who went through a teacher's strike, voted against a couple of the contracts that the board back in the day passed. I was openly campaigned against by the teachers union when I ran for re-election. And not only did I win, I had the highest vote count in a couple decades. So I take that stuff pretty seriously. So I'd love to see the details, but the biggest cost to any school district is salary and benefits.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, you see the buildings and all that, and buildings are important. Obviously, you got to have a building for school. But if you drill down into any school district's budget, by far the biggest fund, they have these different funds because years ago schools were robbing building funds to pay for salaries. So they created a dedicated building fund so that school buildings wouldn't fall down on kids. But the education fund. Yes, it would be. The education fund is by far the biggest fund of any school district, and by far the biggest expense in the education fund is salaries and benefits of your employees. So I think I saw a 5% pay raise in there.
Correct.
And if you look at the tax cap law, and I did look back, we've had a little discussion about the tax cap law last week. I actually did a little research on it, and the law says that the tax cannot go up more than the consumer price index or 5%, whichever is less. And currently the CPI is like 7 or 8%, thanks President Biden. So as a result, the cap is 5%. So I suppose you could argue that the district is getting the full 5%. Therefore, these employees should get 5% as well to stay in line. However, again, I haven't seen the details of the contract. I don't know the details of the salaries and benefits of the employees like I did when I was on the board. But an issue that I had back in the day with this is anyone else in the community getting those kind of raises right now? Who else is getting 5% pay raises?
Can you just read the quote? There's a quote in the headline.
Make me put my glasses on again.
Yeah, just read the quote. It was
of Dorfman's article. School board president John Noble. I did not have to leave or walk out, which I promised to do if it got nasty. Added board member Sally Davis, who joined Noble on the school board's negotiating committee. It was surprisingly unpainful. It was always lively, but it was always done in good faith. But the headline, wait, where's the headline? It was surprisingly unpainful. That's the headline.
It doesn't have to be painful.
I went through some very painful negotiation sessions till 2. We were there till 2 in the morning because the kids were out. The kids are out of school because there's a strike. That was tough. And I know they had a strike here 10 years ago. I don't know the details. Obviously, being a newcomer, I've heard some stuff from some folks about it. It left a bad. Look, anytime teachers go on strike, it leaves a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth.
But when you have a good deal, there's got to be. Both sides can't be happy. Both sides can't be surprised. Oh, I thought I was going to be worse than this. That means somebody got taken advantage of somewhere. And you know, the taxpayers.
We did. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. That's how I read it. So who works?
Yeah, exactly. And here's the question I have. I get it that collective bargaining is covered under executive session. That is clear under Illinois law. So I fully appreciate that, having sat through these things. And that cuts both ways, because you also have a lot of union activists that would be eavesdropping on all that and putting pressure on you. So I get it that the board needs a little bit of space to work on negotiating a contract with its union. That said, to then take that contract you're talking to the guy that voted against a couple of contracts. And my number one issue was the salaries in the contracts, because it was way out of line with what I thought the community could afford. But number two, the other issue I had was where does the community get input on this? I get it that you're at a negotiating table and you can't have thousands of people at that table. You have to have your elected representatives there. But how do you know what the community wants when it comes to the contract? How do you know what the community wants in terms of salary and benefits?
Well, isn't that why we elect school board members?
We do, but did they have discussions? Was there? Maybe they did when they ran. Maybe they talked about what they'd like to see in the contract. Because everyone knew where I stood.
Well, I don't think
when I was a school board member back in the day. If you were a voter, you knew where I stood on financial issues in the district. So again, I get it that you want labor peace. Okay.
I don't think the caucus wants school board members who are coming in with a set agenda. Hey, if I'm elected to the school board, then I will oppose da 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 da. No, I don't think we're doing that, and we're not trying to do that.
I don't think so either. But at the same time, I think the caucus wants fiscal responsibility, because we have a very good fit. If you saw the finance presentation at the city council meeting Monday night,
there's only about a 5% increase in a time of inflation that says fiscal impropriety.
Yeah. So let's say maybe the contract's a fair contract. Let's see the contract. Can we get a copy of the contract? Because I've certainly looked at my share of teachers' contracts over the years. So I'd be curious to see the contract. I'm sure it's a public document now that they've approved it.
That should be public.
But look, I think the greater issue here is, if you're spending all this money, as Parents Care has brought up, are we getting what we're paying for? Number one, but also number two, Lake Forest, one of the calling cards of Lake Forest and why people like this community and like to live here is we get good value for our tax dollars. We have the lowest taxes of any community in Lake County, but that's because of the municipal government. Municipal government is a far smaller percentage of your property tax bill than the schools.
Schools are the
but with
3/4.
We talked about them front loading this increase that got approved in the referendum, and that is going to be causing a lot of sticker shock to people when they get those tax bills in the mail. Okay, we are not going to be anymore the lowest tax community through no fault of Mayor Tack or anybody in the Lake Forest City Council, but because of the school districts. And I think, you have a tale of two governments here. The city of Lake Forest really, really has its fiscal house in order. I mean, I happened to be in the audience and I watched, but anybody can watch the finance committee meeting. Elizabeth did a great job with giving a finance report. The aldermen asked good questions. I think they're good stewards of our money. All right. And they're as a result, we get really good services here at a really low cost compared to what some other communities have. And I get it that they have other sources of revenue that school districts don't. They have some sales tax, they have some other stuff. But again, Lake Forest is much more dependent on property taxes than a city like Vernon Hills that has tons of retail. So while Lake Forest city of Lake Forest isn't exclusively dependent on property taxes, it is far more dependent on property taxes than many other municipalities. So they have really stepped up and held the line and managed money pretty well there. Can you say the same thing about the school district? I'm not so sure. I mean, maybe, again, school board members, Dr. Montgomery, come on the show and give us your side because, we're going to keep talking about it because it's an issue. But I'm telling you, there is going to be a lot of consternation when people get these tax bills and start to see. It's one thing to say I'm all for the schools and it's for the children. But when you get that bill, whew, look out.
So am I right or am I nitpicking where I see a quote in there that says, wow, I thought it was going to be harder? Why would you say that?
I don't know if that was a planned press release or if that was an off-the-cuff interview with Dorfman. So I can't answer that. You never would have had me say that because it was always painful with our union.
That's
back
not
in the day.
Negotiating posture. No, that's you usually want to say, they took us. It was so difficult. You don't usually want to say, oh, that was easy.
Yeah.
Look, I get it. You run for the school board because you care about kids and you love the schools and you want the best. And look, I'll be very frank. The troubles we had with the union back in the day in District 219 when I was on the board caused issues in the district, and it affected performance, and it did affect things. So I can see where you want some labor peace. I mean, you want a happy workforce, right? But these are public employees, and these are tax dollars. And at some point, people got to realize that there's a reason there is this mass exodus out of Illinois. Okay, we've talked about this before. We pay the highest percentage of family income in state and local taxes in the country. And not so coincidentally, we have the highest outbound migration rate of any state in the country. So, and number one with a bullet is property taxes, and number one with a bullet on your property tax bill is schools. So something needs to be done. Maybe, and it's bigger than just Lake Forest High School District or any school district. There needs to be a real reexamination of how we fund schools and the way we do it and the way they spend money. we've talked about this before, that one out of every 10 school districts in the United States is in the state of Illinois. So there's a lot of administrative overhead being wasted here that you don't see in other states. I'm not suggesting we go to a big school district like Chicago Public Schools, which is completely unmanageable. But you see all this money they spend on parking lots and administrators and central office buildings and equipment for the central office buildings and all that stuff. If you had consolidation of these districts, not saying close any schools, but consolidation of the districts. So you have instead of having 5 or 6 superintendents and 5 or 6 assistant superintendents and 5 or 6 of businessmen, I mean, all sorts of jobs that come with having a school district. You have one, and you could direct some more money of that into classrooms instead of administrative overhead. But 2, I think you could give some property tax relief to it.
Again, why would you say that? Oh, that was easy. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, they're welcome. He's welcome.
These are, let's bear in mind, these are amateurs. Okay. The school board members get paid 0.
Get paid the same as the aldermen, but the aldermen seem to be doing better with the money.
Well, they cost us more than 0.
What's the president's name? Hold on. Pardon me. John Noble.
Yeah.
President Noble, member Noble, Mr. Noble. Once from one school board member to another, or come on the show. Let's talk.
I don't think you're a current school board member.
I'm a former board member.
Former.
I can trade war stories. In fact, I had a very nice conversation with a current District 219 board member because of my letter that I wrote about the Israel protest, the peace protest masking as a Hamas rally at Niles North that fortunately got canceled. And I had a very nice conversation with one of the board members, and we actually agreed to get together sometime to trade war stories. No, I shouldn't say war stories. We're talking about war, but
why should I care about that again?
Care about school boards? Well, you're the one asking about school boards.
No,
Israel. Or about Israel?
Yeah, just
every American should care about Israel because number one, Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. We have here in the North Shore, we have strong business partners. I mean, there's a lot of businesses here in Lake Forest, in the Lake Forest area that people are employed at. Israel is a strong commercial country, and a lot of companies do business. Abbott, AbbVie, all these countries have strong business relationships with Abbott. And it is not just a quote unquote Jewish issue, because I know the Jewish population is relatively low in Lake Forest. It is a humanitarian issue at this point. I mean,
there's humanitarian stuff all over the globe. Why is this one so important?
Because first of all, there's a lot of Americans in Israel. There was over, I think, like 100.
21 Americans have died so far.
Yeah.
This morning.
I mean, and there's a strong relationship between U.S. and Israel. If it wasn't for the United States, Israel wouldn't have existed in the first place. Mm-hmm. Right? And Israel, if you go back into history, not to make this an international podcast here, but if you go back in the history of Israel was created in the wake of World War II and the Holocaust as a country to be a safe haven for the Jewish people because of what Hitler and Europe had done to them. So if there's any place that Jews should feel, Jews should feel safe everywhere.
I'm the only Jewish person on this podcast.
My dad was Jewish, so I guess indirectly related to the tribe. Hence the name Weiss.
That's close.
And people see the profile picture with the Israeli flag and think I am, but this is not a Jewish issue, other than the Jews were wrongfully persecuted for centuries, and the Holocaust was just about as evil of a thing as you could ever have.
I'm not saying it's not, but why is this so? I mean, we got about 500.
The reason why it's important is because of the inhumanity of this attack by Hamas, which was intended and I think done deliberately to shock people, to treat Jewish people as less than human, and that was I think Hamas's goal here, to shock and upset the process of peace, which has been ongoing. The Israel and Saudi Arabia, which have been at war for 50 plus years, 70 whatever years now, um, are very close, were very close to creating a permanent peace after this. Now, one thing that would do, most importantly, from Pete's point of view, it would improve the economy in that area immensely if you had free trade between Israel and Saudi Arabia. It would help that.
It would lower the price of gas.
It would lower the price of gas. It would do all kinds
of. The president would do that.
Well,
we all agree we should have a new. I agree we should have a new president. I'm not sure who it should be, but I think it should be Nikki Haley. But
Rick, my point is, there's atrocities all over the world. We got 500 dead a year in Chicago.
Yeah, and we should do something about that too.
No, that's not very good either.
It's a false choice to say we shouldn't care about something overseas because something is happening here. We should do something about both, and we can do something about both.
Yes.
Okay, then I agree with that. Then we should.
I mean, there's a whole, the whole thing of it's not our business.
It's a fixed amount of money. Who do we take care of first?
It's never.
You can do both.
Okay.
Crime costs. First of all, we've talked a lot about crime on this show, and we've talked about Eric Reinhardt and Kim Foxx being part of the problem with the crime in Chicago and in Illinois.
The problem with crime is not that we're underfunding the efforts. The problem is how we are enforcing the law. It's not that we're underfunding the police.
Right. I think, there's a whole notion and there's a whole wing of isolationism in both parties. Mm-hmm. But history has shown that saying, okay, it's not in our country, so it doesn't matter to us. History has shown that never plays out well. I mean, we tried that we tried to stay out of World War I. We tried to stay out of World War II.
I'm not saying
it got far worse because we didn't get in.
I'm not saying I'm Joe Kennedy. Okay.
I mean, the nature of who we are, who the United States is, we have contacts in all throughout the world, and our economy is impacted by things that happen throughout the world. There's no point for us to simply say, "Hey, well, let's close the borders and put up walls, and just be ourselves."
There's a lot of people that live in Lake Forest.
It's never going to work. We can't even stop the Venezuelans from coming in.
I walk around Lake Forest and I see a lot of people wearing AbbVie or Abbott shirts and hats. And my father-in-law is an Abbott retiree. Alderman Powers, we had on the show, works for Abbott.
Right.
A lot of Abbott and AbbVie. AbbVie was a spinoff of Abbott a few years ago. Abbott and AbbVie employ a lot of people around here.
Yes.
Okay. They bring in talent from around the world. I've met people from the UK, from Australia. I mean, and Lake Forest is the place they want to live in because they know how great a community it is. Abbott and AbbVie have a huge financial stake with Israel. Israel is very involved in the tech sector and the pharmaceutical industry and stuff. So it's not just a religious issue or it is an economic issue, not just for Israel, but for us. I mean, Israel helps our economy immensely, the trade there.
Well, help me out.
Yes.
Help me out.
You don't want to be penny wise and like there's that one candidate, I can't remember his name now, who wants to pull aid to Israel. That is so
Robert.
That is so well, maybe him too, but
yeah,
I can't remember his name. The guy, he's of Indian descent. He's running in the Republican primary. Forgive me that I can't remember his name.
Yeah, right. I don't remember.
I'm gonna get nailed on this for not remembering his name.
Okay,
but he's got the totally wrong. You can't pull aid to Israel. I mean, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
No, the stupidest thing you ever heard was giving $6 billion to Iran.
Yeah, absolutely. That was that. And
Brad
Schneider. You ask Congressman Schneider.
I'm asking you, why do we do that?
Because people, President Obama signed that deal as a lame duck president in, I believe, 2015, and then he abstained on the resolution at the UN in the final days of his presidency, condemning the Security Council, condemning Israel. And if the U.S. had just voted against it, it wouldn't have passed because the U.S. has veto power on the Security Council. But he abstains on a resolution condemning Israel. What a schmuck for doing that. But the the Iran deal is, in my opinion, is the worst deal signed since Neville Chamberlain signed a non-aggression pact with Adolf Hitler. How did that work out? Not the same as this Iran deal is working out. You cannot make peace with people trying to kill you. All right, you can't. We couldn't make peace with Adolf Hitler. You can't make peace with Iran. I hate to say it. I don't want a war with Iran, but because it's going to be terrible. But you know what? Look at what's happening. They get the $6 billion in quote unquote humanitarian relief, and maybe they didn't get the check yet, but they knew they had the funds coming, so that freed up other funds. I mean, we never gave Hitler humanitarian relief or Germany humanitarian relief during World War II. That would have been insane.
FDR couldn't get anything going till Pearl Harbor happened.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Okay,
and because we waited so long, the war was worse. If we'd gotten in earlier, the war would have been far less worse, and far less people would have died.
You couldn't get in. Congress.
No, I get it. I get it. That's isolation. Look, same thing with World War I. We didn't get in till they sent the what was it, the Lusitania?
World War I started in 1914, August 1914. We did not get in until I think it's April 1917. Really, almost 3 years into the war. And similarly, in World War II, began September 1, 1939. We did not get in until December 7, 1941. So we had 2 years, 3 years later.
We tried to screw the hell out of Germany from the First World War, and that caused World War II. And
so you see that beautiful memorial on Green Bay Road and Deer Path for our veterans. There probably would have been less names on that if we'd gotten into either of those wars sooner. I mean, seriously, I don't like war. All right. No one wants to send someone's sons or daughters to war. But sometimes you have to fight. Yeah, there is a war in Chicago, a different kind of war. But you're right, there is a war in Chicago. And like I said, it's a false choice if anyone says, "Oh, we need to take care of our people."
What's the number one rule in winning a war? What's the number one rule in winning a war?
I didn't know they had rules.
There is a rule. Yeah, you don't go into it unless you know you have overwhelming,
clear and defined mission. Correct.
Yeah. Well, you want to define it, and actually that does bring up a good point. And that is, we have this ongoing war in the city of Chicago with all these people getting killed. And it's 30 miles from my house. I have no idea who the combatants are, why they are fighting. I don't know the names of the groups. I know
really the poor.
Very, very little about it.
It's the poor and the rich.
Other than the death toll, which is counted up every weekend. In the city of Chicago, and are the same numbers that would you'd see out of a war in most places in the world. And yet I have no idea what the names of these, obviously these are, I say it's gang related. I don't know what the names of the gangs are. I don't know which groups they are. I don't know why
it's a marketing issue, because you know what Hamas is, you don't know what the gangs are, so you can't.
Well, because there's so many different gangs, and they're shooting at each other.
I don't know I don't know the names of the gangs.
I wish Hamas and Hezbollah were shooting at each other right now instead of unifying against innocent Israelis. But yeah, I mean, look, the issues in Chicago, just as we have communities here in Lake County that have a microcosm of what goes on in Chicago. So some of it is economic, okay? And I think we talked about the economics of this state, and jobs are going away from Illinois to other places.
Well, I don't think that's got related to.
Well, Ronald Reagan said,
the city of Chicago. I mean, yes, that certainly is. The crime is certainly a result of and a cause for out migration, but that doesn't explain why don't I know? Why don't you know? Why don't Pete? We're all people who follow the news very closely. We read on these things all the time. Can you name one of the major gangs?
Latin disciples.
Disciples.
Gaylords. Let's see.
Just look at any brick wall when you ride the train into the city.
Insane unknown. Blah 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 blah.
But Ronald Reagan said, one of my favorite quotes. Ronald Reagan had the best quote of all. He said, "I believe the best social program is a job," and it's true. I really think if there has been a
You got
loss of manufacturing jobs.
Yeah. There's plenty of jobs available if people want to work.
People have been conditioned not to work. So
that is a problem. You're right. That is a problem.
So I'm getting back to why do I care? What do we care about in Lake Forest? Did you see the Lake Forest?
Why do you care about Chicago then? I mean, what do you Chicago's 30 miles away. You're not likely to get hit by.
You're very dependent on Chicago's economy, so you should care about Chicago.
No, I care about Chicago because we're a 2-train station, right? There's 2 train stations in town.
We also have a lot of residents who are who work in Chicago. Their career is of Chicago. There's a CFO of a very, very big company. I won't say his name or the company's name in Chicago, and they're on the brink of whether they should stay in Chicago or not. So there's a lot
of people are on that brink.
Yes. They're gone.
So I'm just saying this does affect Lake Forest. Okay, it's easy to say, oh, it's great for Lake Forest realtors that Chicago's doing bad. No. Chicago, we are part of the Chicago metropolitan area. A lot of people own businesses or are a big part of businesses in Chicago here.
Well,
That's how they made their money.
Houses in Lake Forest, they're primarily because they're being brought to Chicago for jobs, and that's why they buy houses in Lake Forest.
The city was formed by the Armors.
That's fewer buyers of houses in Lake Forest.
The Armors made their money in Chicago and helped found Lake Forest, or played a big role in the founding of Lake Forest. So this city has always had a history of relating to Chicago. But
so tying this all back in, gentlemen, the Lake Forest survey report, the results came out.
Survey says, I think you should remember Richard Dawson on Family Feud?
Yeah.
Survey says.
Is that on the Lake Forest?
It's on the webpage. They had it up at the council meeting the other night. Some interesting takeaways from that.
I'd like to see that.
It's in your email box. But a couple of things that city services that are most important to households, parks and trails more than quadruples police services. For very important.
That's not how I answered the survey.
I'm just saying that's clueless.
We talked to those folks on Green Bay Road. They probably want to change the answer on that survey after what happened to their houses, right? With those burglaries.
So that is I'd say that's a slight problem.
The definition of a conservative is a liberal who's been mugged.
Yeah.
So, look, we're very blessed that we live in a pretty safe community. And, I think a lot of that has to do with the Lake Forest police do such a great job. I mean, those guys don't mess around. And I mean that in a good way. I think people don't, it's kind of like when you're a kid and you get the food put on your table, you don't have any concept of how that food got there, whether it's the parent making the money to buy it or the farmer growing it, all that stuff, the packaging it, all that stuff. Nobody appreciates it. They just have the food, right? And so I think this is still a very safe community. We've had some unfortunate incidents, and I think we need a different state's attorney. That's why we have had Mary Cole on, even though Mr. Reinhardt's welcome to come on and give his point of view. But I think we've been pretty clear on here that Reinhardt is just simply a Lake County copycat of Kim Foxx. And you can see how Kim Foxx plays in Lake Forest based on the April mayoral election. But you're right that parks is something but it is part of the quality of life have nice parks and stuff.
Yes.
I answered public safety more, but that's because I've worked with public safety people over the years, and I know what happens when you don't have good public safety. So
I'm not surprised people value and want the trails because Lake Forest is a good walking community.
I love the trails. I walk the trails, man. Right. I've lost 25 pounds in part because of the trails.
Yeah, the trails.
You like the trails more than the coppers?
No. But again, Pete, it's a false choice.
That's not a real choice.
You can do both.
Yeah,
we can have good police and good trails.
Yes.
You don't have to do one or the other. And the city is doing that, in my opinion, in a way that is very fiscally responsible. I mean, that that is a lot of school board people and a lot of people in government give you this false choice of, if we don't raise taxes, we have to cut vital services. And that's just not true. I mean, if you manage your priorities,
what's your first and second, third choice? What's most important to you? And I'm just saying.
I answered public safety when I got the survey. That said, I don't think any alderman is going to take that and say, "Oh, we can cut police funds
no, that's how clueless the people are that live here."
I don't know. I don't know if I like the question of where you rank stuff. I don't know if I like the premise of that. I understand why the survey guys spoke at the meeting and gave a really nice presentation. Why were there so many questions? Questions in the survey?
Yeah.
Well, what we?
That took a good hour.
Took a while to fill it out, but that's okay. I mind. Sometimes you ask the same question a couple different ways, and you get a somewhat different answer. Yeah. A lot of times these surveys, and this one included, had plenty of questions where they were kind of loaded, that you could tell which, what they expected the answer to be, and sometimes you ask the same question a different way, you get a different answer, and that tells you something.
Then it asks, how do you get your local news? And kind of funny, they had podcasts in there.
I checked it.
I get all my news from the Lake Forest podcast.
Okay, it was interesting. They had a 20% return rate on the survey, is what I think I heard the other night.
That's great. That's huge.
That's very huge for things like this, which is unfortunate. You wish everybody would be engaged, but look,
I didn't finish it.
You get 20% back. That's all. That's a lot.
Maybe you have ADD. I don't know, but
maybe I do.
Maybe.
but you're relying on this stuff on somebody's point of view once a year.
Yeah, yes, that's fair. Look, I think every alderman needs to take it with a grain of salt. Okay, it's an important thing. I think if you did no surveys and you just came to every meeting determined to do what you're going to do, that's not the way you should be doing things. At the same time, you don't want somebody, a politician who's completely driven by polls and never makes any decisions. So there's a happy medium in here.
Well, here,
so I think you take those and you work it into workshops and all sorts.
Question number 7, importance of each of the following when choosing to live in Lake Forest. Overall safety, 95%. How does that, if you're going to choose to live in Lake Forest because of the safety, and yet you don't, the police aren't important, to me, that it doesn't make sense.
You're right. It doesn't. Okay. But I don't think any alderman's going to say, you know what, we can cut police funds because
I'm not talking about aldermen. I'm talking about us. I'm talking about guys sitting in the bar reading this thing.
Yeah.
That took, how often do you shop or dine in the city?
Okay. I'm looking at these results, though. I mean, okay, parks and trails, yeah, most important, 59%. I'm a little surprised by that, but that's.
Hey, open lands is a big thing.
Number 2,
I think it's a great thing.
Number 2 is fire and emergency medical services, which gets 56%, almost the same amount. And then you got the police as police services as being 37% said that's the most important. Well, is that really surprising? I mean, Lake Forest, we don't have a lot of crime problems, fortunately, and the police are either they're doing a great job or they don't have that much to do. Either way, but the fact that 37%, this number, it was the 3rd highest total. I don't think that means that people don't value the police.
I view that question as asking a parent who their favorite kid is. I mean,
you're gonna they're all important. You're going to choose a park over a cop. It says first choice, Rick. What does it say for first choice?
It says
it's playing antics with semantics here, but
yeah, first choice. 59% said that was their highest satisfaction.
Had at Lake Forest 101, which I urge everyone to go to next time they offer it. They had one of the workshops was a budgeting workshop, and Elizabeth gave a great presentation. but they had a thing where they gave you like stickers, and you went around. You had a certain number of stickers, and they had different priorities on the wall. Like pieces of white paper, and you had to figure out where you put your stickers or your stars. I forgot exactly how we did it.
Oh yeah.
So you had to sit and make those decisions. And as someone that sat and done budgets, both for municipal and school districts, you do sit through these workshops. You do sit, and you do have to realize, hey, we have a finite amount of resources. So where do we spend it? And one of the raps on, I think it's great that we don't have an elected park board or an elected library board. I think it's great that that's part of the city, because I think it's crazy that we have these park district elections in Lake Bluff and other villages.
Yeah.
But the negative to that is, if you have a separate park district, parks is their only priority, right? So they go to the max on it. Whereas when it's part of the city, parks is competing with everything else in the city budget for funds, and that can be a challenge. But I think the parks here are really nice. I mean, and I think, but like I said, I think the cops are great here. I think the firemen are great here. I think we can have all three. I don't.
Look on the.
My point is,
if you held a gun to my head, no pun intended, but if you held a gun to my head and said, "Make me choose," I'm going to choose police and fire, of course, because that's life safety.
Pete, look on the.
But I don't have to make that choice.
The development process got 4%.
Big surprise.
So, but that's where where your revenue
on the bright
comes.
side, the whole development process, which we have often focused on, that was important to only 4% of the responders.
But if you do development right, you get more funds to pay for the parks and the police and the fire department, right? I mean,
go to question 23. Satisfaction with city facilities. Forest Park Beach, 73%. Randy Tech. You know why? Because we put booze there.
I'll drink to that. This isn't booze. This isn't booze. This is water, just for the record.
Okay, good. I don't want you podcasting while drinking.
Especially during the workday, because I have to go back to work as soon as we're done. That would be bad. Only when we do the live shows at Duffers.
Just coffee for me. Only the live shows. Yes.
93% of the populate or the survey responders visited a park. 70% attended a city-sponsored special event.
That's pretty good.
Well, that's what they
70%. I mean, look, people probably lie. They feel guilty. Like, yeah, I attended one.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Judge by what they do, not by what they say. Utilize the city athletic fields, 50%. Participated in a city recreation program or class, 41%. What are the needs for older adults in the community right now?
There you go. Here you go, guys.
Mr. Lesser.
Lesser, why don't you take that as your
sources currently used to get news and information about city programs? 8% get their information from radio or podcasts.
I checked the podcast box.
Yeah, I got to check the podcast too. There was the 8%. Joe and I.
It's true though. Before I came on the show, I would watch the podcast every week to get information, because there is no local news anymore.
Right, exactly. And I do notice on here, I'm looking for newspaper. No. Yeah, I mean, they don't even list newspaper on the answers. Oh, here you go. Local newspapers. Yeah. Okay, 40%. Local newspapers are 60% say they don't get them from local newspaper. That used to be, I'm sure that was much closer to 100% if you'd asked that same question 20 years ago.
Internet killed the local news business.
Internet, social media social media is as the source for news is that's the city social media pages. There you go. Word of mouth, which I think is social media, probably Facebook, is 72%, 67%.
Referrals. Somebody's at your door. Question 27, recreation program.
Amazon delivery.
That's what I've got. Nothing but water problems. This is the story of Rick's life. I always have water problems.
See, if you had the Lake Forest Public Works Department, you wouldn't have these water problems
there
here in
you go.
Arizona.
That's what I needed.
Recreation programs that are most important to households, community events, first choice. Outdoor concerts.
All right.
Who doesn't love an outdoor concert?
Well, I've gone to them.
I'm waiting for Heart of Glass to do an outdoor concert in Lake Forest.
Yeah.
October 28th in Schaumburg, Illinois.
Yeah, Schaumburg's too far.
Come on now. Nothing's too far for this genius. What respondents feel are the greatest service needs for young adults in the community right now? Mental health support, 60%. Thank you. And at the bottom of the list is educational programs. Let's see. What is your age? Okay. 35-44 is 18%. 45-54 is 20. 18
Me.
or 15.
For a few more months.
65 and up is 27%. 55-64, 20%. Okay, interesting.
So this is this community skews a little old.
Well, I thought it would skew a lot because it's like 64 years.
Well, maybe a lot of the older people couldn't answer the survey. Did they pass it around at Lake Forest Place?
Wasn't the survey? The survey was in paper. It was paper form, so you could do it.
How many years have you lived in the city of Lake Forest? 25% have lived here over 31 years. 22%, 5 years or less.
Yeah, those are the new people.
Me?
Wow. That's us. Well, I'm getting on 5. I'm getting 6 to 10 is 12. So you got half
items that have the largest impact on your decision to stay in Lake Forest. Number 1, lower taxes than in nearby cities.
Yeah, let's see how that answer comes out in a few years if the school district keeps taxing to the max.
Yeah. Overall safety is next on it, and then quality of city services. Well, that's all pretty good. Schools is next on the list, although a lot of the areas around us have better rated schools than Lake Forest does. Well, not around, I should say, but to the south of us.
So it's nice they were spouting out all these numbers. If you scroll down in the report, our goal of bringing this up on the show is not really to give you all these facts. It's for you to whet your appetite to go in and look at this report and see what's going on.
Yeah, it's right on the webpage. Very transparent.
It's an important report. Yeah, I got it on my little mobile device here. The Lake Forest.
You can
Lake Forest now.
Go to page 44 because then you get benchmarking data to see how we compare.
Hold on here.
Communities that have a income over 100 grand, which would make sense.
I don't recommend anyone print this out. It's 232 pages. Would you say 44?
40. I think page 43, 44. You have benchmarks. They benchmark against communities that are over 100 grand. I think there's other ways that you could benchmark it, but that's unmet needs for recreation programs, adult athletic programs. I don't know why they would say that.
Softball leagues.
Well, we got turf now.
Play some adult softball.
So basically, you have all this data, and that's a beautiful thing about data. What do you do with it now?
Well, I think they talked about that in the meeting, and this company does facilitate the use of that in workshops with your staff, with your aldermen. So, I think they'll make some decisions over the years.
So I missed the city council meeting. Is this what they went over in there?
This was a big part of the council meeting, yes.
Any other tidbits that I want to go in and check out?
Of the survey?
No, in the
city council meeting in general. Yeah. Well, I spoke at the city council meeting.
Did you really?
Not about the survey. Yes.
What did you say?
Would anybody like to address the city council? Anybody other than Mr. Weiss? No, I'm just kidding. Please state your name and address.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor Tack and members of the council. I'm Joe Weiss. I reside at 1360 Middle Fork Drive, which you can tell by that address. I'm even closer to Elawa than Alderman Goshgarian. I'm probably the second closest house in the entire city to Elawa. So no no one is probably impacted more by anything that happens at Elawa than me and my family. So, but I wanted to come here tonight to reiterate the support that I gave at the zoning board meeting in favor of this. I believe you have the testimony as part of the record, so I won't rehash everything there. But I just want to state what a wonderful asset Elawa is to our community. It is a big part of the reason that 14 months ago my family chose to move here and to move to that house on Middle Fork Drive. I can't tell you, every morning looking out and seeing a farm across the street from me, and I tell my coworkers this, I put it on Zoom behind me, they think I'm in a rural area, and I'm like, no, I'm in Lake Forest. They're like, Lake Forest? But Elawa has, and I know there were issues in the past that neighbors had, but that is the past. Laura has done a terrific job being not just a leader, but a listener to all the neighbors. And I think an important point to note is that before this came to the zoning board, Elawa hosted a meeting in the subdivision with the homeowners, and of the 70 or so, 70 plus houses that are in the subdivision, only 5 residents showed up. So I take that as a, the silent majority very much in support of this. We really look forward to, there's not a lot of place, you got to get into a car if you want to go get a bite to eat somewhere where we live. So it'd be great to have this market here nearby, really looking forward to that. It's not a 24-hour McDonald's or a 7-Eleven. This is something that I think is going to be fit very well into the neighborhood, and I think most people in the neighborhood are going to really enjoy it. The traffic, I know people have addressed the traffic issue, but there's only so many hours in the day of any type of traffic being there, and it's really manageable. We all have driveways, we all have garages. I know a couple times it gets for an hour on a Saturday morning, it gets a little tight, but that goes away very quickly, and I think it's just a wonderful thing to have. So I just want to state to the council and to all of you that me and my family, we support this project 100%. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there other comments? Okay. Seeing that there are none.
I spoke on behalf of the Elawa Farm proposal, which was the only item of new business.
Oh, really?
As a neighbor of Elawa, I fully support the proposal that they have to expand. It's not expanding weddings. Everyone thinks that that's all Elawa wants to do is have more weddings, and that is not true.
So
they have
why
a whole.
Why are you for it?
Why am I for it? Because I think it'll enhance the neighborhood and enhance the city. I think it's going to bring a mark. I think Elawa is a real jewel for this city. It's part of why I moved here, that I live by a farm. Not too many people can say that, living in the Chicago area. This allows them to bring a revenue stream in to help facilitate some of the stuff there. With the sunsetting of the Wildlife Discovery Center, it allows them to utilize that space for other things. And still have some wildlife for the kids, because I think every week they have at least one little kid show up kind of sad because all the pets are gone. So they're going to have some wildlife. It's been approved. I can't remember the exact types of animals. I mean, nothing exotic or crazy. Alderman Goshgarian lives near Elawa as well, so I think he's pretty cool with this. Like I said, it was a unanimous vote, 7-0. But I know
anybody against
7-0, so no. Oh, any residents? No,
yeah.
I'm the only resident that spoke. So there were a couple residents I spoke at the zoning board meeting a couple months ago when this was at zoning, and there were a couple of neighbors concerned about traffic, that the additional traffic that the market and stuff would bring in. And without getting in all the details, I live about as close to Elawa as anyone, so no one's more impacted than me than about anything at Elawa. And I'm not bothered by the traffic. I mean, yeah, on Saturday mornings, there can be on a few market days, cars parked on our street, but we have a driveway, we have a garage. It doesn't affect us, and it's just a few hours. It's not like there's parties going on at 3 a.m. or anything. In fact, there's more noise from the trains, which I can actually, in the wintertime, I can see the trains from Middle Fork, but I can hear them year round. But I know that they've been there since 1865, so I just deal with it. I can hear noise from the Tri-State. I can hear noise from 41. I can hear noise from Waukegan Road. I mean, there's there's some traffic for a few hours a week at Elawa. Big deal. So what? I think it's really nice. I think it's nice that they have all these programs for kids and these school field trips during the day. There used to be a resident that was upset about that, and they're no longer here. And I think it's really good. And I'm looking forward to having a market where you can just go walk and grab a bite to eat. You can have I think they're going to have a light alcohol. So Pete, you can come over and you wanted booze at the beach. Well, there's going to be booze at Elawa in a tasteful way. So come on by. We'll grab. You can,
Why would I go by Elawa to have a drink?
No, maybe you shouldn't, but we'll get you an Uber ride home afterwards. But but I think it's something nice for the neighborhood.
All right, fair enough.
I think it's good for the city, not just the neighborhood. I think it's a good thing for the city, and it keeps the. I think it keeps the. If you bring in these alternate revenue streams, it helps pay for all that. So you're not as dependent.
I'm for that, baby. Last thing, we'll wrap up. How's the homeless situation in town?
I don't know. You mentioned last week that that one individual got arrested, and I was trying to find that on the blotter. Did we see that, or I don't know.
Somebody sent me.
Well,
I cannot confirm nor deny.
All right. Well, we'll have to check the blotter on Lake Forest Now,
Right.
which is, I believe, one of the most clicked on features of Lake Forest Now. But the
And
who doesn't, or yeah, but the weather's changing. So does that affect all this?
That's what I was asking, and I
chilly out
will suffice.
Winter is coming.
The Scouts, they've lost 2 games in a row or something like that.
Yeah, and they're going to have a
No
game.
points.
Is it no points? Forgive me, I don't have the scores in front of me.
I've been out of touch. You know what I mean? I've been out.
We were out in Pelosi land last week. Everybody was saying we got to get Pete like a tripod or something when he goes on vacation, so he's not like out in the wind like that. I mean, we had a nice glance of your hair there blowing in the wind.
That's fine. That's what makes it authentic.
But the Scouts play. I think by the time the show airs, the Scouts will have played, and I think my understanding is they need to win this game to.
Well, they need 6 wins to get in the playoffs. That's
playoffs.
They got 0 against Warren.
Ooh,
they got 0.
Warren's a big team, right?
Warren's the best team. So they got 2 shutouts in a row. So
they are 4-4 overall. They are 3-3 in the conference as of the airing of this show. They will play on Friday night. So this show drops Saturday morning. So everyone will know whether they beat Mundelein or not Friday night.
Unless you're
that's the last regular season game.
Your Patreon supporter, you get this.
So they are not going to be able to get the 6 wins that they need in order to make playoffs.
Interesting. Just saying. Anything else, gentlemen?
How's the basketball team looking? We need somebody on for basketball now.
Well, we'll get Johnny Kerr back on.
And does he do basketball too?
No, but he knows more than the 3 of us combined.
Well, that's not hard.
That's not
As little as I know about football, I know even less about basketball. So baseball was my sport. But
how are your Bears doing?
I'm a baseball guy too. Yeah.
The Bears.
Oh, the Bears. God. Yeah. Oh my God. It is so bad. Okay, let's get into that, because that's the Bears. Every year after year, the problems are obviously starting at the very top. McCaskies are their whole family. Their whole thing's all about owning a football team, and they are the first profess people to know nothing about owning a football team. And yet that doesn't stop them from owning this football team and destroying it every year. Why is it we are always so bad, the Bears? When you look back at the last 10 years, it's been incredible how unsuccessful this team has been. They've hired general manager after general manager. And my apologies, by the way, I misidentified.
We can copy and record what you said the last time. What's new now? Is Justin Fields?
Justin Fields is out. How long is Fields out for? I know he was out of the game.
At least a week. It may be 2.
Maybe a blessing in disguise. I mean, this new guy, we
The
were starting to
backup is Division II. Holy.
Yeah, but he was starting to do good, and then he threw that interception. Bro.
Turnover there. It was
for a second. I thought we had a start. It's kind of like Tom Brady coming off the bench when Drew. What's his name?
Purdy is already the new Tom Brady.
Yeah, but
so Fields got a dislocated thumb on his throwing hand. So not that he throws that well, but.
He can run. Maybe make him a running back or a wide receiver or something. I want to like Justin Fields. I when I see interviews with him, I like his personality and all that. It's just I just don't know if that scramble type quarterback works for a team like this.
The Bears coaching staff does not know how to use him if they does. I mean,
remember they inherited him from the old Matt and Ryan show. Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace.
Yep.
So I don't know. I mean,
he's a legacy. Yeah.
I mean, they got more draft picks coming, right? So it takes time to build a team. The 85 Bears didn't get built overnight.
No.
So I don't know. Ditka, I think I told this story before, but when Ditka became the head coach, and today, Wednesday, when we tape the show, is Mike Ditka's 84th birthday. So happy birthday to the coach.
The coach.
Still, unfortunately, the only Super Bowl winning coach in the city of Chicago. So,
yes.
But when Ditka became the coach of the Bears, he met with the team in the locker room.
I think
this is in like 83. Hallis never won a Super Bowl. He won an NFL championship. Never a Super Bowl.
Same thing.
All right. But I like to say Super Bowl because I like to put Ditka on a pedestal because I love the coach.
Frankly, nobody cares about pre-Super Bowl championships.
Yeah, 60. Have you ever seen the 63 trophy? It looks like a high school
no, I haven't.
Championship. No. I've seen it. They had it at the Bears 100th anniversary convention in Rosemont. I'll send you a picture. You can put it up on the show. But it looks like a high school. It looks like it actually was. The NFL didn't even make a trophy for him. It was made by the city of Chicago. So the first Mayor Daley had a trophy made to give it to him, and it looks like something that a high school team would get when they won like the conference championship. I mean, it's
it's not
compared to that really cool Super Bowl trophy they had.
Yes, right, which is really good. The Vince Lombardi.
But back to Ditka, when he met with the team, and I think 82 when he became the coach. He said, I got good news and bad news, guys. The good news is we're going to win a Super Bowl. The bad news is most of you won't be here to see it.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be
Deion Sanders' primetime approach as well.
No. Don't blow a 29-point lead like Deion did. But
hey, did you see Travis Kelce in town with Taylor Swift at Prue Beidler's headquarters?
No, I didn't.
I saw an AI drawing of it.
No, that wasn't even AI. That was bad Canva work.
All right.
They put Lake Forest Bookstore. God bless you. God bless you.
Yeah, don't bring the poor bookstore into this. Come on.
What do you mean the poor bookstore? The woke store?
Yeah, the woke store.
Is it woke? Are they?
My God! It's
awfully woke there. Yes.
That's.
It's probably owned by a person that wants everybody's money. It's like Whole Foods gets all these liberal customers, and the guy who owns it is a real conservative, or was till he sold it to Amazon.
Yeah.
I think there's some other examples too, where you get these businesses that are patronized generally by left-leaning or liberal people, and the owner is very conservative, and he's like, "Thank you for your money."
That's not the case in this.
All right, I don't know.
I'm just saying. So it's just funny.
No, to be glad there's any bookstore left at this point.
It's amazing that there is. You're absolutely right. They talk about an industry that has fallen on hard times. Book sales certainly would be on that list.
Crocs and Brentanos was the place back in the day.
Yeah. There's still Barnes and Noble is still around occasional places, but
barely.
Thank God for Jeff Bezos.
Hanging on.
Rick and Joe, thank you for another riveting podcast. I'm sure we'll break the internet once again.
Go Scouts, go Bears.
Yes.
Scouts, go Bears.
Go Bulls, go Blackhawks. What else we got to rip for here?
The Sky.
The Sky, sure.
The
Fire.
Fire. How about my Cubbies?
Go Cubs and Sox in the winter meetings.
The end of the season was a disappointment, but the team was vastly improved over last year. We are like one good reliever away from making the playoffs. We were this year. One good reliever, we would have been there. I'm optimistic about the future of the Cubs.
I don't know what's more difficult, that I was a Republican growing up in Cook County, or that I was a White Sox fan growing up in the northern suburbs. But
that's tough.
I have to, as like Stu Walker, I'm a Sox fan, but I will tip my cap to the Ricketts. I do think I would rather be part of the Cubs organization right now than the White Sox organization. I think the White Sox are in some they're competing with the Bears for the worst run organization.
Joe, why isn't there pay equity?
The best thing that ever happened to Reinsdorf, because it makes people forget about Reinsdorf. They're more angry at the mechanics they are about at Reinsdorf.
Jay,
Reinsdorf's got 7 titles, 6 with the Bulls and 1 with the Sox.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So why isn't there pay equity in the WNBA and the NBA?
Market forces.
Nobody goes to the games. That's why. Yeah. See you later.
Market forces.
The Lake Forest Podcast is supported by viewers, listeners, and businesses just like you. Looking for the best pool supplies? Look no further than Dohany's Pool Supplies. With a history dating back to 1967, this family-owned business offers everything families need to keep their pools clean and sparkling, from chemicals to equipment. Plus, customers enjoy free shipping on all orders. Visit Dohany's Pool Supplies today at doheny.com, DOHENY.com, to learn more. Forest Bluff Real Estate Team serves Illinois, Wisconsin, Lake Forest, and Lake Bluff. John Josephitis, Laura Lee Van Fleet, and of course Michelle Parnell. Get a free market analysis now at forestbluffrealestate.com. For the best cannabis in the world, look no further than Iliad Epic Grow. Owned by Lake Bluff's own Rich Ruzich, they are a cannabis cultivation center focusing on hard-to-find small batch products that will delight both the occasional user and ganjier. When visiting Michigan, ask for it by name. Epic Products, exceptional process. For more information, email info@iliadgrow.com. Havey Communications has been helping first responders arrive safely since 1983. It's owned by Lake Forest's own Mike Havey. Check them out at haveycommunications.com. We'd also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters, Otto, John C., Helen, and Herrick.